So this is the second England Gambit video we're going to make, and as I said, the England Gambit's a terrible gambit. It's completely unsound, and yet I continue to have good luck with it. In fact, what's inspired me to make this video is I just played a game this morning against somebody who's master strength. Their rating is hovers right around 2,200 after thousands of games, and we're talking now about blitz ratings. And in general, blitz ratings are lower than regular ratings, so it's hard to maintain a high blitz rating. Now, there's some players who do it; they actually have the same or even higher, but not in this particular player's case. They're a good blitz player, and this is a blitz chess once again. So it's going to give you an idea of what can go grotesquely wrong in an England gambit very quickly against somebody who is actually a very competent candidate. So let's start out now. This is a fully annotated game, so we're going to see a lot of arrows. As you see, the black arrow is what I play. The white arrow is what the computer suggests. And the computer says that playing e5 is unsound. And as you see already, after d takes e5, computer says you're down half to 3/4 of a point or a pawn. And now the computer is recommending knight to c6 and d5 and a whole variety of things, and we've been through all this before. We're double attacking that pawn now, so what does white do? White covers it that way. Okay, so in the last game, this is not exactly what happened. So I actually like it when white does that, and the computer's recommending d6. Or maybe they did do this in the last game. I play a lot of these. So now it says queen to b3 attacking the b pawn, and there are players who do that, and it's effective, but this player has decided to move it back to d1, which is not quite as accurate. And this allows me to use my open lines. And as we talked about, the F file is what you're trying to open as soon as possible, just like you are in a variety of other defenses. So the F file is open here, as you can see, similar to the Latvian gambit, which we've been doing videos on. And white is suggested to play e3 here. Now d5 becomes a bit of a push, so we'll see what happens. And he's pinning the F knight and allowing us to castle long. So now it says, due to the inaccuracies of specifically the last couple moves, black actually has an equal game. Black's a pawn down. Now if you analyze this position, what we have is we have an open F file, an open E file, 3 minor pieces developed, and so white also has that. We have a rook developed, which white doesn't have, and we have presence in the center, which white doesn't have. So this is compensation that is equality according to the chess engines. And now I'm suggesting we push d5 right away. That's what the engine suggests. And I move queen to e1, which is a different kind of maneuver. I would like to be out of the pin. I could move queen to f2 as well. I want to reposition my queen, get my black squared bishop active. So it says that's inaccurate. However, white's also inaccurate. He should play to e3. So we're suggesting king to b8 here, which is a good move. And he castles long, which I didn't expect actually. However, his king is somewhat exposed, and I move queen to g6, which is one of the main moves considered. And this move like stares right down the diagonal in front of the white king. And he backs off, and I move king to b8, which is a good practice in general. And it's interesting, it's the #1 computer move because it took me a little time to figure out that was probably the best thing to do in this position. It's just intuitive. Now, of course, it says e3, e3, and for some reason this player wanted to move his bishop back to g3 and trade off my dark squared bishop because maybe he was planning on doing something different with his king pawn. I don't know why a player rated this high would want to do this, because what is the real problem with doing this? Just take a look at it for a second. He's going to move his bishop back to g3. I'm going to trade it off. Now, what's that bishop protecting? What is one of the biggest weaknesses on the whole board? Well, it's the F file for white. And what's going to happen is we're going to attack the F2 pawn, and the bishop's the only thing on the board right now that can protect that F2 pawn. He can't move a knight where it can't be taken. He can't move a queen somewhere. So protecting that F2 pawn is going to be extremely difficult, especially after I double the G pawns. So now, as you can see, just simply taking puts me up a pawn and a half, which we do. Now it suggested F takes, which is interesting, and now, of course, knight to G4. And the computer's being very kind. It says that white's down 2, but I suggest white's lost here. So there's a lot of things white can try, but he's going to have a massive pawn islands and like exchange problems and everything else. He attacks my queen, which, by the way, is a problem according to the original analysis, which was done by Stockfish 8 on this. And so the question is, where do I go? The computer says I can just move queen to h5, pinning that knight, which does make some sense. But this is a fast game, and I had different ideas about what to do. My idea was to simply move back there, which, according to the computer, is just as good now, it looks like, because what I want to do is move d4 soon. And d4 is a very ugly-looking move because it opens up my battery of my bishop and queen on his a-pawn, and also it makes it difficult for him to take it. I'll recapture with the rook, and it's just a big mess for white. So white's almost in a resignable position. It says here he should play e3 and give up the exchange. So he didn't do that. He moved his rook. And now, of course, the computer says I can completely blow the position away by simply taking with the queen, attacking his rook. And since his bishop is completely hemmed in, he'll have to move a knight back to protect it. So I took a little different approach. I took with a knight. It's not as strong, but once again, I'm not as strong as the computer. So here we go with the knight capture. So instead of being up 4, I'm up 2, and I'm happy with my position, and I can play it, and I understand it really well. I'm going to reposition that knight and have a very difficult, blitz chess is a little different from the standpoint that you're trying to make moves that force your opponent to burn time. And the queen move, it's real easy. He's going to either move back into the corner, or he's going to protect it with a knight. And frankly, I don't like where his knight is for his sake, and so I didn't want to move the knight back. And now he moves his rook, and now we push our pawn, which is the #1 computer move again. And it's getting grimmer and grimmer for white at this point. Says he has to move knight on h to f3, which he does not do. He pushes his pawn. So when he pushes his pawn, he's protecting his a pawn, and I can understand the desire to do that. But look at his pawn islands, and look at the fact that he's playing literally 2 rooks and a bishop down. And we're going to continue to force that. I'm going to plant that rook on e3. And his rooks, he's got 2 rooks, which have no scope, and each have just 1 move, and a bishop that has no moves. And I have 1 knight that has got them all tied down. And that's like playing 13 points down. And so he moves the correct move, and I move the correct move, and now he's lost. And what happens is, and I doubt that this person was using a computer because of the way he moved, but he resigned at this point. He just gave up. It was a hopeless position. And as you can see, the computer isn't down 4, so that does make a certain amount of sense. So that was our England Gambit lesson for today.